welcome to Good Luck High Five, episode 505.
That's right. You're listening to a podcast that's for you if you play Magic the Gathering. Whether the Magic you play is Warhammer or the Magic you play is Magic, we are here for you.
I'm one of your hosts, Maria.
I'm another one of your hosts, Megan.
And on today's show, Megan teased it right there. It's all Warhammer all the time, baby.
That's right. The Warhammer 40K crossover is about to hit shelves.
Yes.
It looks really cool.
It really does.
And Maria and I know so little about Warhammer that we decided to bring in a Warhammer enthusiast to tell us all about it.
Yes. We wanted to get a background on the lore of the factions behind these commander decks.
Yes.
These 4 commander decks that are being released, and also just Warhammer in general.
Who are these people / skeletons?
And what do they want?
/ skeletons.
The answer is war.
/ skeletons.
Yep. But it's just a delightful conversation to learn more about Warhammer. And then we're also going to have Judge Rob on the program because these are commander decks, right? And Judge Rob is going to show us how we can take those commander decks, use them for commander, but then also update them to use them for Oathbreaker if we want.
That's right. Oathbreaker is a really fun multiplayer format that we really enjoy playing. It is a little bit of a twist on the kind of commander format. It goes quicker.
Yep.
It's a little bit easier to get into. And of course, you can learn all that you need to know about it by going to oathbreakermtg.org. It's a format developed by Magic Kids.
Yes.
Which is also a really cool organization. So learn more about both of those things.
Yeah. Do you have extra cards you want to donate to science? And by science, we mean kids, so they learn how to play Magic?
Kids are science.
They truly are.
Tell me one thing more science than kids.
Science.
Well, all right.
But yeah, so we're going to learn about the lore of Oathbreaker, the stories behind these decks, and we're going to learn how to take these commander decks, turn them into Oathbreaker. It's going to be a great Warhammer episode. I'm so excited for it.
Me too. But before we get started, we have some people to thank. First and foremost amongst them are you, the listeners and patrons of this show. Thank you so much to everyone who is a patron of Good Luck High Five. And thank you especially to Peter, Shane, and Eric for becoming patrons in the past week. Thank you all so much. It truly is a delight, even if we have just one new patron. Yeah. And to have 3 truly feels like a birthday.
This is our birthday.
So thank you for giving us essentially a magic birthday, Peter, Shane, and Eric.
If you want to become a patron, if you want to have a show dedicated to you, just like Peter, Shane, and Eric,
this one's for you.
You can just go to patreon.com/GLHF Magic, become our new friend, get access to our Discord, get cool rewards. We would love to have you as part of our family. And it takes just about a minute to sign up. So get our next episode dedicated to you.
Yeah, man.
You know? And our next episode might have a pretty famous special guest on it. So I think you might be interested in it.
The next episode would be a really good one to have dedicated to you. We're just saying.
We also want to give a shout out to Card Kingdom. You can head on over to cardkingdom.com/GLHF to get whatever you need for your magical life. They've got pre-orders on everything you could want. Speaking of Warhammer, you can get that stuff over on Card Kingdom. You can pre-order Unfinity up on cardkingdom.com/GLHF right now, including those new sweet lands.
Oh, yes. Really good.
I'm obsessed with the Spacek lands. I'm obsessed.
Like, I don't know. Look, I just got some lands on Arena, but if they put these on there, will I get them? Yes.
Yes. There's even 2 kinds. There's the kind that's like zoomed in on a planet, and then there's the wide view of the planet.
There's close space and far away space.
And also, they're doing this new foiling technique on them that's like Pokemon foil. So it's like the sparkly kind of foil.
They're so good.
I'm deceased.
They're so good. Get any of these things over at Card Kingdom. They'll get them in your little paws as fast as is humanly or raccoonly possible.
And an update, speaking of Unfinity, everybody, in case you didn't catch it on the Twitters, we are going to be participating in the Loading Ready Run pre-release for Unfinity this weekend.
That's right.
We're here in Minnesota now, but we'll soon be in Canada.
In Canada. It's going to be a really good time. That's happening on Sunday, October 2nd.
Yes.
1, I can't believe it's October.
Oh,
2,
weird.
It's October 2nd.
Yeah, it's going to be Sunday, which normally is on Saturday.
But it's on Sunday.
It's on Sunday,
so
everybody.
when Saturday comes around and you're like, oh no, I'm missing it, you're not.
Nope.
Watch it on Sunday. And when Sunday happens and you're like, oh no, I missed it, you didn't watch it then.
You can watch it on twitch.tv/loadingreadyrun starting at 10 a.m. Pacific on Sunday with Megan and myself along with Mr. Mark Rosewater.
It's gonna be nice.
Yeah, I'm so excited. We're going to draft Infinity.
Yes.
And then you're going to see gameplay of those drafts.
Put stickers on
Stickers
so
on
much
everything.
Stuff.
I'm going to draft Clown Tribal because that's really just terrifying.
Stickers.
I'm going to put hats on all of my cards.
Stickers.
If you want to know more about the mechanics in Infinity PS, you can listen to the upkeep for this week.
Yeah.
Because we talk about the way the stickers and the attractions work and all that kind of stuff. It can seem confusing, but we break it down for you on the upkeep. So yeah, check out the pre-release. We're super stoked to see our Canadian brothers from another mother for the first time in like 3 years.
Yeah. Arguably, I would say that we have the same mom.
Mark Rosewater.
I was going to say like comedy.
Oh, yeah.
But different dads, which are in Canada and the United States. I don't know.
Comedy's our mom.
Comedy's our mom and our dads are the countries we come from. I don't know.
Yeah, comedy really, had two pretty different relationships.
Yes.
Similar in some ways.
But generally very different.
Our step brothers from different dads. Loading, ready, run.
Loading, ready, run.
Wait, half brothers.
Yeah.
There it is. Hey everybody, it's time to talk Warhammer 40K Commander. We have a very special guest joining us to talk about Warhammer this week. It's local demon prince, Will Roberts.
Hello.
Yeah, that's how he asked us to introduce him.
That's how I demanded to be introduced.
Yeah. Yes, very Warhammer of you,
yes,
demanded to be introduced. You play a lot of Warhammer. You are also my fiance.
That's true.
I was going to say, Maria, how do you know that he plays a lot of Warhammer?
How do you know?
Does it get painted at your table?
It sure does.
Is it because our house is completely full of miniatures?
Yes, we are overflowing with miniatures. You do a great job painting them. You play a whole lot, and you read a ton of the lore.
Yeah.
So we thought you'd be a good guest to kind of talk to us about the 4 different factions that we're going to be seeing in these commander decks and just give us an overview of what Warhammer is and some of the lore of Warhammer because it is wide-reaching, and one of the biggest universes that exists in fandom. Am I right about that?
I would agree. I would certainly agree to that.
Yeah.
I would say in terms of just breadth, probably like the Marvel, DC universes, and Star Wars are the only things that really rival it,
Wow.
I would say. And I would say it's of a league with those, like in terms of just sheer volume of content and lore to it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's
There's a lot of Star Wars novelizations.
Yes. Yes. And there's a lot of Warhammer novelizations.
Excellent.
We'll
Like a
read
lot.
Warhammer books, and they are thick. This is like, they're enormous.
Yes.
It's just
Absolutely.
impressive to me. But Megan and I don't know a lot about Warhammer.
I would say that I know nothing.
Oh, great. Okay,
Oh,
so
boy.
complete beginner over there. I know just a little bit from osmosing it from you, just being in the same space as you leak it out
Yeah.
of your pores.
Gross.
Fair.
Gross, but fair.
Things do leak out of pores in Warhammer.
Well, okay, great. Fabulous. We'll start there. But for people who are completely unfamiliar, like what is Warhammer?
So I have prepared a blurb. This is attributed to Dan Abnett, who's a frequent lore writer for Warhammer, but it also just appears in the first page of every rule book they put out for every edition. So it goes like this.
Do you need me to put music behind this? Like
sure wouldn't
threatening
hurt.
music?
It
Okay,
sure wouldn't
great.
hurt.
Editor's note.
Okay. Then I will do a very dramatic read, okay?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
I will cough again. For more than 100 centuries, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden throne of Earth. He is the master of mankind by the will of the gods, and master of a million worlds by the might of his inexhaustible armies. He is a rotting carcass, writhing invisibly.
Sorry, can I not laugh at he's a rotting
Well, I don't want people to miss this.
Okay, sorry, go.
Because it rules. He is a rotting carcass, writhing invisibly with power from the dark age of technology. He is the carrion lord of the Imperium, for whom 1,000 souls die every day, for whom blood is drunk and flesh eaten. Human blood and human flesh, the stuff of which the Imperium is made. To be a man in such times is to be one amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. This is the tale of those times.
Wow.
There's another paragraph, which also rules as it's as metal. Forget the power of technology, science, and common humanity. Forget the promise of progress and understanding, for there is no peace amongst the stars. Only an eternity of carnage and slaughter and the laughter of thirsting gods.
Wow.
And I would say laughter is an appropriate reaction to this.
Holy cow.
How do I get a job writing novelizations for Warhammer? I want to write this.
That's pretty sick.
I mean, the Black Library is their publishing wing, and you can probably submit something to the Black Library.
I'm going to write directly to them.
They definitely have. They definitely do occasionally solicit stuff,
Wow.
and I definitely wish to someday submit something.
Yeah, that was metal.
It's so. I mean, like, and it's such a vast and diverse setting that the tone of writing varies, but that's sort of like the baseline tone, which is dark to the point of absolute absurdity that you should be laughing at it at least a little bit, so at least most of the time, because it's everything in the universe is dialed up to absolutely 11.
I mean, starting with 100 centuries.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Warhammer, when does it take place, Will?
It takes place, well, it does not take place in the title year. It takes place in the 41st millennium, so sometime after the year 40,000.
Okay.
So back
so that's the 40K.
40K, yes.
Oh.
So the main game is called Warhammer 40,000.
Yeah.
Which originally there was a fantasy game called Warhammer Fantasy Battles, and then in the 80s they expanded they didn't expand the years, they created a new universe, which was Warhammer 40,000. And now most of the things, if they put out sort of these date stamps, it'll be like 999N41, which means the 999th year of the 41st millennium. Except there's also, like, it's a big, expansive universe, and people don't agree within universe which year it actually is, so it might actually be the 42nd millennium.
I mean, you wouldn't at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a rotting carcass on the golden throne of Earth.
That is the Emperor of Mankind, yes.
Great. Goals. #goals for certain.
Yeah. It is a golden throne, yes. It is a golden throne through which...
He feeds on flesh.
Well, yes. So... This is, okay, so I was talking to Maria, and I was saying we're going to have a really hard time getting this through in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because even this, to explain the feeds on flesh thing.
Would take another hour.
So 10,000 years ago in the 31st millennium, there was a galactic civil war between the Emperor and his sons called Primarchs, who are super enhanced psychic beings, who were loyal to him, and the traitors, who I actually, I consider myself a member of, who were loyal to the Chaos Gods and his son Horus. And it was called the Horus Heresy. And at the climactic fight of it...
it was.
It was called the Horus Heresy. It was the big heresy.
Sorry, keep going.
Okay. So... Horus and the Emperor fought. Horus had all the power of the Chaos Gods, and the Emperor had his own powers because he's very powerful. And Horus was slain, but the Emperor was mostly slain. He's not conscious anymore, can't talk or move, but he still has some psychic powers. And he, his psychic power lights this beam called the Astronomicon, which is
incredible.
The sort of psychic lighthouse by which astropaths are able to navigate the warp, which is how ships are able to travel through the galaxy.
The warp.
Wow.
What questions do you have now?
Okay.
All
I
of
guess what's happening with Horus these days? Is he dead?
Horus is dead.
Okay. That's a bummer. What about the other Chaos Gods?
Well, see, the Chaos Gods, this is actually very important because this is one of the factions in the decks, the Forces of Chaos. So there are 4 Chaos Gods, which are extremely powerful psychic entities within what's called the Warp, which is essentially like hell. It's where all the demons and evil gods live.
Okay.
It's also the only way that mankind has to travel faster than light.
So you have to go through hell to get to other places of space.
Exactly. That is, yes.
What a
pretty
metaphor.
sick.
You literally have to travel through hell.
Wow.
And you might emerge like 1,000 years later just accidentally.
Oops.
That happens all the time. Or you might get eaten by demons.
Great.
Anyway, there are 4 Chaos Gods.
Great.
Korn, the god of blood and slaughter. Nurgle, the god of plagues. Tzeentch, the lord of change, the schemer, the master of fate. And then Slanesh, the prince or princess of pleasure and pain.
I've got to say, Nurgle is definitely the nerdiest of all of those chaos
I don't
gods.
know. He did say corn.
Well, I think Tzeentch is personally Tzeentch I consider the nerdiest. Tzeentch is all about sorcery and spells and stuff.
Well,
Tzeentch.
Basically, big scale picture here. In the Warhammer universe, there's a bunch of different factions or groups, and they're constantly at war. War never ends, right?
Correct. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.
Great. Can't wait.
Sounds like the last 20 years.
Speaking of the Chaos Gods, also known as the Ruinous Powers, apparently, that's one of the factions that we have one of the commander decks for, commanded by Abaddon the Despoiler, which is 2 blue, black, red for a 5/5 Trampler, a Mark of Chaos Ascendant. During your turn, spells you cast from your hand with mana value X or less have Cascade, which is pretty sweet, where X is the total number of life your opponents have lost this turn. So talk to me about the Ruinous Powers.
Well, I believe we introduced the 4 Chaos Gods.
Yes.
Khorne, Nurgle, Tzeentch, and Slaanesh.
Yeah.
Megan finds Khorne very funny.
Khorne.
Khor.
Is that what the band is named after?
No.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's not.
Hey, you never know.
I guess I don't know the band Khorne well enough to say that for sure.
Okay.
I don't think so. These are Chaos Gods who live in the Warp, and their followers are bestowed upon boons by the Chaos Gods, but also the gods are, of course, duplicitous and cruel and fickle, and their favor comes and goes. So their followers are given powers and are often in league with demons, such as Be'lakor, the Dark Master, who was the first demon prince.
Oh, one of the cards in the deck.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Be'lakor is a giant 6/5 flyer. Pretty sick.
Yeah.
I think this is kind of cool because that card plays in with Abaddon too, because this one has the flavor text word Prince of Chaos. When Be'lakor, the Dark Master, enters the battlefield, you draw X cards and you lose X life, where X is the number of demons you control.
Ooh.
And
nice.
And Abaddon wants your opponents to lose life.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet. So it seems really mean.
So here's my question.
Yeah.
We see these, right? Maria called this a 6/5, or we know Abaddon is a 5/5. How do these things manifest in the world of in the game of Warhammer?
Well, great question. So the game of Warhammer is played with miniatures.
Okay.
If I have some in my car if you need me to bring them in. None of them will be as big. So Abaddon is about yay tall, probably.
Tiny little guy.
I mean, it's what's called a 28 millimeter heroic scale miniature, which means a standard human is about 28 millimeters. But also their weapons and heads are bigger than they should be, just according to scale, because we want everyone to see their weapons, because when we're on the gaming table, we want to know what each model has equipped as best we can. Be'lakor is going to be a bit bigger. He's going to be up this tall.
Whoa!
Be'lakor is a big fella, got big
That's
wings.
huge.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's like, at home I have a painting of, a painted model of my boy Magnus the Red, who's also about that tall. And there's another deck in the Ruinous Powers deck, which I was very happy to see. Big fan of Magnus the Red.
So you can play with these actual dudes, but in mini as part of the army.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have miniatures. You build in big 40K, you build an army. I mostly played the small version called Kill Team, which is where you play with just a max 14 models at a time. And it's a smaller game, but it's really fun. I recommend it.
What happens during a game of Warhammer?
So you'll be activating your units.
Okay.
In 40K, it's all, I go with all my guys, and then you go with all your guys, and that's a turn. Whereas in Kill Team, it's I activate my unit, you activate your unit, then I activate another one, and you activate another one until everyone's gone.
They can kill each other, or you can capture objectives or whatever. So it's like, like a little mini. I always think of it as people in movies when it's like Queen Elizabeth I is moving around her armies with like a little stick on a table.
Gotcha.
I would say, And another good analog is just kind of like chess. You're just it's a lot like chess. It's also a lot like just taking your action figures and bashing them together. It's just there's more rules.
Yeah.
So it lays somewhere on the trajectory between bashing together action figures and chess.
Yeah, and there's dice. You roll dice to usually determine how things go.
I want to know what kind of person you would say should play the Ruinous Powers deck. Like, what do you got to be into?
Well, frankly, I think you should believe that the Emperor of Mankind is a false god who has led humanity astray and obscured the primordial truth.
Do you know what? I think that there's something in there that I can certainly identify with.
But really, okay, here's what Chaos has. Chaos is... Every faction is extremely violent, but Chaos is seemingly the most gruesome and loving violent faction. If you like any of those things that the gods are gods of, so Khorne, if you like blood and you like yelling blood for the blood god and skulls for the throne, which I do. Yeah. I just say it around the house. Then you love Chaos. If Nurgle. All Nurgle characters are just disgusting, and it's great. They're all covered in pus, and they're bloated.
Delicious.
And some of the plague... So one of Nurgle's troops is called a Plague Marine, and they've just sometimes got their intestines coming up. Some of them have, like, mouths on their tummies. They're disgusting, and it's great.
You're selling me.
I know, right? Slaanesh has a bunch of like twisted yet beautiful yet elegant and like torturous things, and then Tzeentch is all about sort of forbidden knowledge and scheming, and just sort of I really like, I paint a lot of Tzeentch models, which is like I can make them very psychedelic. I enjoy that a lot. So if you're into, like, if you like spikes, if you like a lot of skulls,
if you like spikes and skulls,
then chaos is for you.
Chaos
for sure.
is
And
for
demons.
You. And
I like demons.
I mean, you are essentially aligned with the demons of hell through which
absolutely.
people fly. Yeah, I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk about another faction deck, the Tyrannid Swarm.
The Tyrannid Swarm, the Great Devourer.
Ooh, all right. What's their jam?
Led by the Swarm Lord, 3 green, blue, red for a 5/5. The Swarm Lord enters the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters on it for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. Whenever a creature you control with a counter on it dies, draw a card. Okay, so you want to be messing around with counters in this deck.
Okay.
That means nothing to Will.
Yep, Will's like, all right, fine.
I know a little magic, a little.
So tell me about the Tyrannid Swarm.
The Tyrannid Swarm. Okay, so the Tyrannid Swarm is, it's all a big hive mind.
Oh.
If you think about, I mean, really, I think in this case, the Zerg from StarCraft did come first, but it's that. It's the Zerg from StarCraft / the aliens from Alien, except
What about the Borg from Star Trek?
Yeah, except they're bugs.
Yeah.
Like the Borg are like robots, right? As I understand it.
They're
everything.
But they're like an artificial intelligence type deal. I saw First Contact. I know a little bit at least about this, right?
All right.
Okay, we'll accept it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
They do have a collective mind.
Collective
Yes.
mind is the important
So in that
part.
sense, yes, absolutely. Most Tyranids never talk. They don't talk to people. They mostly just convert into monstrous bioforms that will basically set upon a planet with their entire hive fleet, attempt to, and often succeed, devour everything on the planet, leaving it and convert all of its biomass into their swarm. So they just take everything that's alive on the planet, convert it into their swarm, and leave the planet a desolate shell.
Sick.
They are from another galaxy. They're the only faction in 40K that's from another galaxy.
So this is all happening in the Milky Way?
They seem very alien.
Which means like, and this is the great part, either out there in the other galaxies,
There's more war.
There's either just a ton of galaxies that are all Tyranids because they've eaten everybody else in them, or there's something even worse out there that they're running from. So either way, it's not a great situation.
Yeah.
It's just like the Great Filter.
Yeah, exactly. It was just the Tyranids the whole time.
It's just the Tyranids.
That's why we can't get to
Very
space
cool.
travel. Magnus, how do you say this name?
Magus.
Magus?
I believe it is the singular of mage.
Oh, I see. Do you know this
Or
character?
Magi. I don't know that character specifically, but I know that she is of the Gene Stealer cult, which is not explicitly aligned with the Tyranids because the Tyranids don't explicitly care that they exist, but there are these Tyranids called Gene Stealers that will steal people's genes, Gene. But the Gene Stealer cult will appear on a planet and start worshiping the Tyranids, essentially, and they'll keep trying to call out to the star gods and the star child, or I believe it's the four-armed emperor, and will constantly like sabotage whoever is running the planet until eventually they get what they want and the Tyranids come to the planet and kill everybody.
Oh, well.
So they're the Gene Stealer cult.
They seem pretty cool. That's the card Magus Lucia Kane I'm referring to, which is the other commander you can play in this deck.
Wow.
Okay, that's messed up.
It's great, isn't it?
It's kind of, it's kind of cool. They're the people with signs that are like, welcome aliens.
Yeah,
Independence
exactly.
Day.
Yeah.
And then also they've killed everyone who isn't welcome aliens.
Great.
They're very militant about it. They worship the aliens.
Who should play the Tyrannid Swarm deck?
I mean, if you like big monsters, is what I would say. Big monsters, because if you're
That's
looking
a type of Magic player for
It
sure.
really is, actually is. There's a lot of ramp in this deck. There's going to be a lot of messing around with +1/+1 counters and making creatures bigger. So that makes sense. Flavorfully. Wow, they did it. Good job, Magic. So that's 2 of the decks. Let's move on to the third faction that we have here, the Necron Dynasties. And this one, it looks like it would be my favorite.
I had to do some research on this because the lore behind the Necrons is very expansive and particular.
What would you call the rest of the things you've been saying today?
Look, okay, yes, but
Small and amorphous.
so the Necrons are older than all the other species in the 41st millennium. They go back to the earliest life in the galaxy when there were these beings called the Old Ones. Now, the Old Ones were very powerful species of people, and there were these other species called the Necron Tier, who were very short-lived. They lived on an irradiated world, and they wanted to live longer. Now, eventually, the Necron Tier allied with these demigods, gods called the Catan, C''TAN, and sort of got immortal life out of them and power out of going to war against the old ones. Now, the Catan deceived them, and it turned almost all of them into living metal with no actual consciousness in it, who were just sort of like automata.
Oh, yeah, so they
except for the commanders. They got their wish, but it was twisted. And there was a war in heaven, and the Necrons ultimately ended up sort of going, like, instead of losing, they went into millions and millions of years of slumber on tomb worlds.
Yeah. Amazing.
I'm gonna go take a nap.
So they're kind of like they're an undead.
World.
They're a space undead faction, except they're cooler than that even. Like, I mean, so the Silent King is that's one of the commanders.
Yeah,
we'll talk about.
Yeah. How do you say this? Do you know how to say it?
I believe it's pronounced Sarek.
Sarek the Silent King. 1 black for a 3/4 flyer. Whenever Sarek the Silent King attacks, mill 3 cards. You may put an artifact creature card or vehicle card from among the cards milled this way into your hand. So artifacts is going to be their deal in this deck I'm sussing out here. Which makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, he was the one who made the deal with the Catan, and he feels real bad about it.
Oh, somebody feels remorse in this universe?
Yeah, some people do sometimes.
I have a question, though. You said that these were like the old ones. These were around way before.
Yes.
So,
I mean, the old one, they're not the old ones, which is a different
okay, so
species
now
of
they're
people,
not
but they're
as
very
quite
old.
as old as the old ones.
Yes.
But where is where are we? Are they asleep right now while we're
They
alive?
are currently waking up en masse.
Oh, God. Great. Do you know what? The Tomb World party is about to be popping off.
Right.
Like, Tomb World is about to be where it's at, man.
Exactly. And that's kind of like where things are in the 41st millennium is things were bad before and now they're getting worse and then they're getting progressively worse and they just keep on getting worse and worse.
Fabulous.
The Tyranids arrive, the Necrons will wake up, the orcs are en masse. There's no orcs in these commander decks, but there's orcs in 40K.
Okay.
And they're great.
All right. So sorry I interrupted your skeleton story.
That's okay.
Yeah, they're asleep on Tomb World.
They're asleep. They're waking up. What kind of person would like the Necron dynasties?
Oh, well, I assume it's if you like, undead in general or a pseudo-Egyptian aesthetic. They've got a bit of an Egyptian thing going.
Kind of like Amonkhet.
Yeah. Hey, are you a fan of the undead?
Yeah.
Consider
I've got something for you.
The Necron dynasties.
Also, I don't know how they'll play in Magic, but I assume they're pretty resilient because one thing in 40K that they've got is once they die, they have a chance to come back just immediately.
Oh.
It's called
that's
reanimation
cool.
protocols.
Reanimation protocols.
Wow. I love a good protocol.
Also, they have one card of a guy that's really cool called Trazen the Infinite, which you can see right there, Trazen the Infinite, who is sort of this just crazy Necron who has a consciousness, who constantly collects other things like artifacts and people. So he'll collect, like, just freeze them in time and keep them in his collection.
Where is his collection kept?
Oh, I don't know. Just somewhere beyond our understanding, I'm sure.
Okay,
like the Necrons consider our minds very primitive, and they don't like most of what they do is just kind of
I just didn't know if out on the battlefield he's like carting it around with him.
Check out my collection.
Unfortunately not. He's usually out in the battlefield
cool.
to try to add to his collection.
You've heard of a field hospital? Here's my field museum.
I like that idea. Yeah. Take a break for a minute. Go look at some art.
Just go look at the collector's collection.
I think you're right, Will, about them having resilience in this deck here because a card, one of the sorceries in this list is Living Death, which says each player exiles all creature cards from their graveyard, then sacrifices all creatures they control, then put all cards they exiled this way onto the battlefield. So
they're coming back from
the dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This one seems seems up my alley. I just love that they're skeletons.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I just love skeletons.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, we have the forces of the Imperium, led by Inquisitor Greyfax, who I'll just read really quickly. 1 white, blue, black for 3/3 with vigilance. Other creatures you control get +1/+0 and have vigilance. You can pay 1 and tap. Tap target creature and opponent controls investigate. And investigate, you make a clue token, which is an artifact that has 2, sacrifice the artifact, draw a card. Mm-hmm. That seems like the most straightforward of all of the ones we've talked about so far, honestly.
Tell us about Inquisitor Greyfax / the Imperium.
Okay. This is going to take a long time. So
Boil it down. Boil it down.
I'm going to try.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Inquisitor Greyfax is an Inquisitor. Now, an Inquisitor.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Bombshell.
Okay. I'm with you so far.
An Inquisitor is someone who is technically above the law in the Imperium. And is given unlimited authority to do essentially they
wear whatever hat they want.
Oh, absolutely. They dress
very Welsh.
Yes.
They dress dope.
Yeah.
But their job is to hunt for, in his case, I believe it's heresy. He would be of the Ordo Hereticus, which is the witch hunters of the Imperium. So they don't like psychic people. They don't. I mean, that's most of it.
I think Inquisitor Greyfax is a lady. Just put that out there.
You know what? I actually didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I don't know Inquisitor Greyfax too well.
That's okay.
Correction taken. But yeah, the Ordo Hereticus does not like heretics. So heretics are anyone who does not, essentially do what the Inquisitor wants. But mainly it revolves around the worship of the Emperor, which is sort of the official religion of the Imperium, and all of this have been
So that's the decaying corpse on the throne?
Yes,
okay.
The Emperor. The Imperium, by large, worships the Emperor as a god.
They love the rotting corpse.
They love the rotting corpse.
Got
yes.
it.
He is the savior of mankind, according to the Imperium, but we all know he's a false god. Yeah. And that would be what Inquisitor Greyfax very strongly believes in. Or also, there's a whole lot of stuff with the Inquisitors. We won't get into all that right now.
I mean, they seem problematic.
Yeah.
It's almost as if policing is inherently problematic in all the ways people have imagined it so far.
Yeah. Everything about the Imperium is problematic. That's everything.
I mean, I guess now that we're talking about it, I don't know that there's any faction that I would say is completely absent of all problem.
What is your problem with chaos? Why do you dislike
right.
bloodshed and unending slaughter?
I'm just saying, you said they lived in hell.
Well,
what's your problem with hanging out with demons in hell?
We live in hell.
Hashtag cancel culture has gone too far. You're telling me you hate hell? Okay.
Fine. I guess the Imperium kind of sounds like they're religious zealots.
yes.
Okay.
Great.
Nailed it.
There's a lot more to it than that, which is they're also just an absolute totalitarianism.
Okay.
Which is also constantly falling apart. So yes, they have this sort of totalitarianism, but it's not like a 1984 totalitarianism where like they've got their, can I swear?
No.
Okay. Then I won't swear.
Stuff.
They've got their stuff together.
Okay. Got it.
They're constantly falling apart, constantly breaking at the seams. Worlds are constantly falling into rebellion, and they're losing worlds to rebellion, and constantly being brought back to from rebellion.
Just the burden of the tyrannist, I suppose, huh?
I was gonna say that
sure.
feels like a more accurate representation of totalitarianism.
Sure.
1984 is just their wet dream.
So we can't swear, but we can say that.
We should.
Understood. No, we're not.
We shouldn't. But here
Hey,
we
look.
are.
You know what? Honestly, great. We need to normalize wet dreams.
Welcome to episode 505. Oh my god. So who should play the Imperium?
If you like humans.
So these are
I mean,
the
also,
human people.
okay,
Yeah,
so the Imperium is undeniably, like, it's cool. You're not going to feel good about yourself playing the Imperium, I think. But if they're your kind of bad guy, I mean, like, the Imperium is also, like, the point of view of most 40K lore. So, like, everything that you read in 40K, for the most part, is sort of from the Imperium. The rulebook is by and large written from an Imperial perspective. So you're seeing everything from an Imperial perspective. And one reason that the lore of 40K is allowed to sort of contradict itself is because the Imperium purges information. And like the Imperium suppresses information as hard as it possibly can for the most part. Most people in the Imperium don't know about demons. They don't know about chaos.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do the people in the Imperium, are they all just evil? Do they all just like believe in this and they go for it? Or are they like kind of being forced into it, and they just have to?
Well, it's kind of like they've never conceived of life a different way.
Sure.
Like indoctrination is just so thorough. I mean, it's not that they're basically good or basically evil. It's that this is the only way they know to exist.
Someone comes in and is like, what about those chaos gods? And they're like, there's no such thing as a chaos god. I would have heard of it.
Or in that case, they start becoming worshippers of chaos, and then they'll, do terrible things to themselves because again, they're used to terrible things.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
This future seems messed up.
Warhammer.
It is.
Everyone's used to terrible things.
There is no hope. You're going to die young. That's the setting.
The best outcome you can hope for is to become worshipped as a rotting corpse on a golden throne.
Yeah. And that's only one person has accomplished that. And he's technically dead and only has psychic power.
That's true. That's true.
So
You could be a demon prince.
Oh,
that's true.
That does sound good.
That does
That
sound
does
An
sound
eternity of
good.
servitude to dark powers, you know?
yeah.
Which one of these decks calls to you, Will?
You know the answer to that.
Well, I'm asking you as a listener.
Oh, the ruinous powers.
Yeah, the
If I may look at
gods.
the card list, Be'lakor the Dark Master, Lord of Change, that's a greater demon of Tzeentch. I like them. They're big bird monsters. The Great Unclean One, that's a greater demon of Nurgle. They're big old chubby plague monsters. Let's see what else we got. Mortarion, the demon Primarch, one of the Emperor's sons who turned traitor and aligned with the Nurgle.
And there's Karn the Betrayer.
Karn the Betrayer. I love Karn the Betrayer. Karn the Betrayer is the sort of the champion of Khorne in the universe.
I'm a champion of Khorne in this universe.
He was a member of the World Eaters Legion.
I think we all are.
Of course, they've got Magnus the Red, who I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Another Primarch, but this one, the Demon Primarch of Tzeentch. Lucius the Eternal, who's a guy, he's sort of the mortal champion of Slaanesh, who he is a swordsman, and anyone who defeats him, who kills him, if they feel even the slightest bit of pride or pleasure in their accomplishment, will slowly start to become him very painfully. Until eventually they are Lucius the Eternal, and then their face is like shown on his armor. So all the faces of people who have killed him and become him are just on his armor.
So he died, but then they became him,
Yes.
so he's alive again.
Exactly.
That is sick, man.
Yeah.
All right, that's pretty good.
That is very good.
Right? Yeah.
Now that's the new goal of this game,
Right?
I think. There's a card in this deck just called Kill, Maim, Burn.
That's one of the things that the World Eaters, the Legion that's dedicated to Khorne, says. Yes, kill, maim, burn.
Wow.
It looks
Not
like they don't
pulling
have
any punches here.
Next time
I'm
you
not
go to
seeing
a Khorne
Ahriman on
maze,
here.
you're gonna
which is too bad.
just be a lot more careful about it.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't have Ahriman, which is too bad. Ahriman's one of my favorite 40K characters. He's the arch sorcerer of Tzeentch, and he's pretty great. There's Ahriman books that are very good.
Well, overall, Will, how do you feel as a Warhammer player? Like, is this tempting to you? Do you want to try and play these decks?
Yeah, I would actually, if I were able to get my hands on a deck, I would definitely play it with you.
He says,
All
looking
right.
at
Wink.
me.
If I were
Looks
able to find
there
one,
holds gaze for too long.
if I were a person able to find a product,
Yeah, Megan, as somebody who started out this segment of our show knowing nothing about Warhammer, what is your takeaway at this moment?
Khorne, I think is just kind of like my one word summary.
Corn.
It seems pretty rockin', man. I appreciate people who have. I appreciate the volume of people who have put this volume of work into their lore around it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it comes through, right? It does read as very, not like overly complicated, but infinitely deep.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Also, I really appreciate that they were just like, should we give them a little bit of hope? And someone was like, no. There's no hope in Warhammer. Like, do you know what? Kind of liberating.
Yeah.
So in an interview with Dan Abnett, who's one of the writers I mentioned earlier, someone asked, is there hope in Warhammer? And he said, on the micro scale, there has to be for individuals because like otherwise you don't have a story. But on the macro scale, absolutely not.
Wow.
Things are not going to get better overall.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it's a good interview too.
That's
All right,
wild.
right? Sick. What about you, Maria?
Well,
What did you learn?
I learned a lot about the Chaos Gods.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
And I
And
go door to door with pamphlets now.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I feel like we may have been influenced
yeah, I think we were.
in favor of the Chaos Gods.
You had an agenda coming here today, didn't you?
I just feel like it has such a pro-imperial bias. I'm just kind of correcting the narrative.
Okay,
All right, fair enough,
That's
yeah.
fine. That's fine.
All we want to do is eat souls and
Although
collect
if
skulls.
what you're doing is showing that the imperial bias is wrong and those people are the most awful, is it a bias?
I've played some Kill Team with you, Will.
Yeah.
And as a Magic player, I just want to say if anybody's like, oh, should I try Warhammer? I think there's a ton of stuff that overlaps that you will enjoy. My favorite thing in Magic is attacking and killing things, right?
This sounds like a game where you can do that.
I'm an aggressive player. So if I'm playing an army or a group or whatever you want to call it, a faction that's their deal, then I'm like quite happy. I'm like, yes, I want to kill. And one of the games I played against, Will, your team was resilient to my efforts of destruction. And it was quite frustrating. And I was just like, all I want to do is kill you guys. And I couldn't. But that being said, I think like Magic has that you are able to kind of identify yourself as a player through the decks you play in the same way that you're able to kind of identify yourself how you like to approach games through the armies that you choose to play.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And there's also there's a very artistic side to it, which is if you're interested in it, I would recommend just finding a club or something at a game store or just someone you know who plays and asking them for a demo game, especially of Kill Team, because Kill Team players are like hungry for people to play with. There's not enough of us. So like we'll set you up with a demo game. We'll provide you some models to play with too. And then if you're into it, they'll help you find some models too that you're into, and you can paint them. There's so many resources for painting on YouTube.
Yeah,
great.
I've used a ton. I love painting models. It's really fun. You get to be creative and expressive with it and tell a little story with it.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you so much for having me.
If we can sum this up with one word, it would probably be corn. Let's say thank you to Ultra Pro.
Oh, by showing you one of the most luxurious products.
Luxurious.
Yeah. Do you know what?
It really is.
Mouthed it a little bit, but look at this thing. Like, okay, what we're unboxing here, for those of you not watching, is the Mythic Edition. I don't know. I just opened the whole.
How do you get this? Megan's destroyed this box. This is not fully open box.
The box is fully open, but look, this is the Mythic Edition storage box.
Yes.
It is gorgeous.
I can read you some stats on this thing.
Yes, hit us with the sweet, sweet stats.
Okay, so this box is incredible.
Yes.
It
just looks great. It has the classic like Mythic orange stitching. It has the Mythic orange logo stitched on the front.
All right, so this box can hold more than 600 double-sleeved cards per channel, so that's 1,200 cards in this bad boy. Okay, 4 rolled playmats per channel, so you can put your playmats in here. 3 alcove flip deck boxes per channel, or 4 satin cube deck boxes per channel.
Wow! So if you are like, but I don't want to unbox my take them out of my deck box and keep them
in here.
You can put your deck boxes in here.
Yes. Yeah.
For storage. It comes with these great little dividers and a full sticker sheet. We already know how enthused I am about stickers. So you can like sticker the little dividers.
Oh my gosh.
That keep everything in here organized. If you have a passion for organization.
Yeah, I love this.
It's just really nice.
It matches their deck boxes, which are the same. That was our Grey Poupon commercial deck box.
Yes.
Which is just luxurious.
And this is like the inside is like so soft. It's so silky for your cards.
Yes.
And it just is nice, okay? If someone walks into your home and they see this on the shelf, they're going to know that they're dealing with a business person, all right? A person who means business.
Means business about card storage.
So if you mean business, you can get anything from Ultra Pro using the code GLHF at checkout for 5% off.
Yeah, Ultra Pro just had a massive sale, a flash sale of a bunch of stuff. It might still be on, but you can use code GLHF for 5% off on top
of sale items.
Sale. So
nothing says business more than business or getting a good deal.
Hey everybody, we've got Judge Rob back in the studio to talk to us about these Warhammer 40K decks and how to turn them into Oathbreaker decks.
Yes.
Welcome, Rob.
Thank you for having me. I am very excited about this Warhammer set of decks. I know nothing about Warhammer.
Hey, you can listen to the
listen
other segment on this show and learn all about it.
We talked about it before, and I'm very excited about having any idea. Like, everything sounds really cool.
Yes.
It's pretty rocking.
It is pretty rocking.
My only concern is because I'm a creature type like obsessive, and I'm like, but I want my Necrons to be able to be reanimated by my Liliana. Can't do that. I think they're probably zombies in that universe. I don't know, but maybe they're not.
Yeah, are all zombies? Not all zombies are Necrons. Are any number of Necron zombies?
Great question.
We don't know.
I looked through all the cards in the set. I don't remember seeing any actual zombies. I think everything's a Necron. So
all right.
Such is life.
Such is life. But yeah, I think this is a cool idea because if you get these decks for Commander, they've got a secret double use hidden in them, which is using them to play Oathbreaker. And Rob, you figured it out.
Yes. So you can chop these down. And so I'm here specifically, if you see the little logo here from Magic Kids, they're the same group of people that have invented and manage Oathbreaker. And they also run a charity, the Magic Kids charity, and they send out kits to school clubs that want to run, like if you want to run a youth magic event, Magic Kids will send, or not magic event, Magic Club, they'll send you a kit. Free of charge. All you have to do is have somebody like at your school that's running this, and they apply for it. It's really good, and right now it's back to school season. They're really ramping up. They've sent out like 800 kits this year since the beginning. They've sent out some humongous amount of these.
Holy
and
cow.
So their turnaround for, if you go to the magickids.org site and fill out a thing, they get back to you within a week, and then usually within 2 to 3 weeks they will mail the kit out.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so you can, if you have a teacher friend, if you have youth friends that are looking to get a club together at school, get them connected up. The first one's free in the United States. They'll just ship it to you. They're connected with Card Kingdom to do a bunch of it, and it's just a great time.
Wow. All of our lovely sponsors and friends coming together here to make this possible.
So that's my blurb about Magic Kids because they're great. But I want to talk about these decks specifically.
Yes.
So I'm going to start with Forces of the Imperium. So all of these decks, they don't have Planeswalkers in them. My guess is that they didn't want crossover with the big Magic titans of what makes Magic tick and the Warhammer people. So they're just like, we're just not going to put it in and we're not going to talk about it.
Which plane are they planeswalking
exactly.
from? The warp.
Right. So what I'm going to do is suggest a Planeswalker to add into the deck, and then a signature spell that comes from the deck, and then some cuts to get you there.
So quickly, in 2-sentence elevator pitch. Oathbreaker.
Of course. So Oathbreaker is a fast commander variant where instead of playing a legendary creature as your commander, you play a planeswalker. It's got 40 card deck or 60 card decks, so we're going to be cutting 40 from these. You start with a planeswalker as your commander and a signature spell, which is an instant or sorcery in their color identity. Just like commander, stuff goes back to the command zone if it's a commander or a signature spell. You can't cast the signature spell unless your Oathbreaker, which is basically interchangeable with commander, is on the battlefield. And so the format is much denser, your decks are more consistent, and it's much faster. It has a separate band list, or a band lisp, depending on how you want to talk. And it was designed to be able to be played in like a lunch. If you have some people at your work that want to jam a 30-minute, 40-minute game over lunch, you can do that with it.
Everyone loves to play a game during lunch.
I love jam at lunch,
Yeah.
Yeah. I eat a lot of jam at lunch.
Jam.
Yeah. Actually eat it mostly for breakfast, but
Forces of the
Imperium. Forces of the Imperium is Esper colored. It's white, blue, black. So there's only 2 choices for Oathbreakers in that color combination. The one I like the most for this, both thematically, because he looks really cool and looks like the kind of thing that would come from Warhammer,
He does.
is Dakon Shadowslayer. He's black, blue, white, legendary planeswalker Dakon. Dakon enters the battlefield with a number of loyalty counters on him equal to the number of lands you control. So he's always going to be relevant no matter how long the game's gone on. +1 to Surveil 2, which fills up your graveyard. -3 to exile target creature. And -6, you may put an artifact card from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield.
All right.
So Forces of the Imperium is a deck all about deploying a bunch of creatures, attacking with them repeatedly, having big, huge squads of dudes. My picks for signature spell, they have 2 really cool ones, and I don't know which I'd rather play. I'll probably play them, switch back and forth. And They Shall Know No Fear, which is an instant. Choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+0 and gain indestructible until end of turn.
God.
It's like it counters spells. It kills your opponent. Like
seems pretty good, Oathbreaker.
Otherwise, For the Emperor is my other pick, which is a sorcery, and it says creatures you control gain +2/+2 and gain vigilance and lifelink until end of turn.
Also seems good.
Yeah,
that one's 4 mana though.
Yeah, that one's 4 mana. White and 3 for the Emperor. White and 1 for And They Shall Know No Fear. So you can cast Dakon on turn 5 and then have For the Emperor prepped up to make sure that they have a hard time killing your creatures.
Hey, this sounds like a deck that's my speed, Rob.
Yes. And my trims on this would be, so you want to cut down to 23 lands. There's a bunch of like mopey enters the battlefield tapped lands, or ones that like usually do. I hate Port. Yeah, they're sad. You're like, you look at Port Town in your hand, and you look at your like Terramorphic Expanse, and you're like, these don't connect together to do anything.
They're the ears of lands.
Yes, they're the ears of lands. The Port Town cycle is one that was, if you're playing a lot of basics, is really good, and I don't want to play a lot of basics most of the time.
Yeah.
So I would fire a bunch of those, cut down to 23 lands. 4 or 5 of each basic is where I would end up, depending on how many cards of each color you end up keeping. I would keep every artifact so that Dakin has a bunch of stuff to interact with. There's only like 6 in the deck. And then you cut a bunch of cards that cost 5 or more mana, and they're just kind of sad and don't do a lot for that cost. You probably won't cast Hour of Reckoning. It costs 7. There are a bunch of like utility creatures. Space Marine Scout. It's really cool, but like there's just not a lot of room to be doing a lot of what these utility creatures do. So you have to make some sacrifices to get there. I would lay them out and be like, I would just sort them. This creature, when I read it, makes me excited. This creature, I don't want to cast this during most games.
You have to be ruthless, much like the Imperium.
Much like the Imperium, yes. And so you can cut down fairly easily with that, with those choices.
And then you can also like make additions too if you want to put more artifacts in there.
This is just you just want to play this deck out of the box and have it feel like this deck, and you want all the frames to look the same, and you know.
Yeah.
But like I plan on breaking these up. I play them a couple times and then break them up because I want to use a bunch of these cards because they're really exciting, and this alternate frame is really good, right?
Yeah, I think it's cool.
Yeah. So Ruinous Powers. Ruinous Powers is Grixis colors. There's a bunch of Nicol Bolas cards that you could use.
Obviously.
Yeah. Like every Nicol Bolas. I don't want to use any of those though.
Big Dragon Dad.
Big Dragon exists, but they also in Modern Horizons 2 made a Grixis Planeswalker, Gaedrone Dihada. Gaedrone is red, black, blue 1, starts at 4 loyalty. Has protection from permanents with corruption counters on them.
Oh.
+1, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Put a corruption counter on up to 1 other target creature or planeswalker. Oh. So she protects herself by making people unable to attack her.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Sick.
Plus -3, gain control of target creature or planeswalker until end of turn. Untap it and put a corruption counter on it. It gains haste until end of turn. So you can borrow their big things, hit them with it, and then they can't hit her back because she's a jerk. She also has -7, gain control of each permanent with a corruption counter on it.
Nice.
So,
great.
Again, I also picked her thematically because she looks like
she does.
She's a
She looks
villain.
like Warhammer.
Yes.
Really cool.
This deck is all about flipping randomly into large things. This is about chaos and warping into random things. I want Chaos Mutation as my signature spell. It's an instant for a red, blue 3. Exile any number of target creatures controlled by different players. For each creature exiled this way, its controller reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card, puts that card onto the battlefield, then puts the rest on the bottom of their library in a random order.
Yeah, you want chaos, you got chaos.
Yes, you usually will just pick all of their best stuff and your worst thing. Or if you're playing with Gaedrone as your Oathbreaker, she will take their creature, you'll target their creature that you control so you don't give it back. Instead, you change it into something real that you get to keep.
Great.
Which is my goal there. Like
so rude.
Again, I would cut to 23 lands on this, mostly cutting the cycling lands. Because you're a 3-color deck, the cycling lands are a little questionable in a smaller library where you don't have as much space to fix your mana. There's also like Dismal Backwater that always enters untapped or always enters tapped in this library. Anything that can never enter untapped, I would start with a cut because there's like you're gonna have to cut like 14 lands in here. Again, 4 or 5 of each basic would be my goal. And my cuts, a lot of these I would cut like from the top down of more expensive stuff. In this case, I'd actually cut from the bottom up because you're gonna be trying to like
hair.
I mean.
Bottom
I hope
up.
so.
I hope. I think that's just generally kind of recommended.
I mean, like from your different hair philosophies, you might actually have different philosophies on that, right?
Cut it from the top down,
Top
Barbara.
I mean, that's how I cut my beard, is from the top down.
Oh, that is true.
But 23 lands, I would cut from the bottom up in this deck, though. I'd cut low-cost stuff because if I'm spinning randomly, I don't want to hit Herald of Slaanesh, right? I don't want to hit Blood Crusher of Khorne or Blood Crusher of Khorne. They just don't do a lot. Keep Aspiring Champion because that spins into better things. When it hits, it gets sacrificed, and then you spin up a new creature out of your library and put it onto the battlefield.
Great.
Ooh, cool.
Those are the ones who are just like 3 and 4 mana utility idiots that I like when I have 100 slots of space, but when I only have 60, it gets a lot more tough to
Yeah,
justify
and
them.
you want to spin that wheel, and you want to
Yes.
hit the big money,
Right.
Not
This
bankrupt.
is a big money gambling deck, right?
Man,
Great.
people who have to work with internet service providers know all about utility idiots. Am I right?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
We all have to nowadays
I
because we're in
know.
the future.
I have I have USI, and they're actually just genuinely very nice and exceptionally helpful. But
Yep.
everyone else is bad.
CenturyLink has been fine.
Okay, that's good.
I disagree.
Comcast, the worst.
The worst.
Like,
I will say, when I had to cancel my CenturyLink, it was actually very easy. It took like 5 minutes, and then they canceled it, and I was like, I was there. I had blocked off like an hour.
oh, Comcast, I sent in a cancellation request and they sent me a form to sign that didn't give an end date. And I assumed it was a month from when I sent it back, but it was a month from when they sent it to me. So I randomly lost it a week before I thought I was going to. I was not happy.
2 thumbs up.
Thanks, Comcast.
Thanks, Comcast.
Wow.
Utility idiots.
Yeah,
Anyway,
sorry. I
I
digress.
know. I started it, so my bad.
Necron Dynasties. This is a mono black deck, which is really interesting for a theme deck.
Yeah,
like they don't
for
do this
sure.
very much, where they give us a monocolored theme deck. There are 24 mono black planeswalkers. They range from the ones that I don't want to use, like Sorin Imperious Bloodlord cares about vampires. We don't have any of those.
Yeah.
We have Necrons. There's also like Liliana Untouched by Death that you cast. I was really excited. I was like, I get to cast zombies from my graveyard. And then I double checked the deck and I'm like, well, I don't have any of those.
They are all Necrons.
Yeah, they're all Necrons. But my pick is actually Liliana of the Last Hope for an Oathbreaker to helm this. She's black 1 for 3 loyalty Liliana, +1 up to 1 target creature gets -2/-1 until your next turn. -2, put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. Then you may return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Her
Great.
-7 is you get an emblem with, at the beginning of your end step, put X 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield, where X is 2 plus the number of zombies you control. So she'll still make 2 zombies, and then like a geometrically increasing number of zombies is like without any support. I like her because she self-mills. This is a reanimation deck.
Yeah, that's great.
So she's a cheap way to put other stuff in your graveyard. She also picks off small fry. If they have relevant 1/1s, she kills them. And if they have relevant creatures that aren't 1/1s, she shrinks them down so she's harder to kill. Plus, she's cheap herself. So even if you're casting her with a command tax, you'll still be able to cast her reasonably. My signature spell suggestion is a reprint in this set. Beacon of Unrest.
More like Bacon of Unrest.
I call this Bacon of Unrest a
you
lot,
do?
actually. I call the whole cycle beacons or bacons a lot of the time. They came out when I was in college, so like
I mean, in college was
And
all
we were
about
all
bacon.
thinking
It was all about
bacon
bacon all the time.
through
It
college.
was a bacon-heavy period of life in the United States, I would argue.
Do you know when I went to college?
No, but I'm just putting it all
Yeah, it's
in one
2002.
all of it.
bucket.
Like there's a big
There was a chunk of time.
big chunk of time where the U.S. was more bacon centric than it is
The
now.
discourse
It's
was
true.
heavy on the bacon.
It's true.
Yes.
There was a lot of bacon
and
discourse.
people still do enjoy bacon. It's not like we're in a bacon.
We're not in a bacon. We're not in a bacon
not in a
Like a
desert.
bacon
Light
desert.
Yeah.
No.
We're just saying discourse was more bacon centric.
Yeah.
It's true. That's about when John Scalzi taped bacon to a cat. So yeah.
All right.
So
Bacon of
meanwhile,
Unrest.
Bacon of Unrest, black 3 sorcery. Put target artifact or creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Shuffle a Beacon of Unrest and Bacon of Unrest into its owner's library. So that last bit you just don't do.
You
It's your
just don't
signature
do it.
spell. It always goes back to the command zone.
Okay.
So it's great. You get to cast this repeatedly. This deck is about reanimating artifacts as much as it is about reanimating creatures. And there's very few things that let you reanimate arbitrary artifacts, which is why they reprinted this. When I looked at this deck list, I was like, I want my signature spell to be Beacon of Unrest. how do I make this happen? Oh, it's in the deck. Great. They thought of me. Thank you, Wizards. Lands are easy. You're going to kill 14 swamps. The rest of the lands are great. For other trims, all the mana rocks that cost 3 or more, I would probably just cut. There, except for the new one. There's a new 4-cost mana rock that was put in this that looks fine. But the rest of them are all like, I don't want to spend 3 to like maybe someday pay 7 to remove something.
No.
Like it's not great. There's a lot of medium creatures. Sakata Immortal and Plasmancer are they're fine. But I don't want to reanimate them a bunch. I don't want to spend a bunch of time casting them. I like having utility creatures more in Commander because the wide variety of stuff that you can run into, you need them, but I don't need them as much when I want to focus on something. I would focus primarily on self-mill and powerful reanimation effects and powerful things to reanimate. You probably want to cut 2 or 3 of the big payloads at the top end because otherwise you're going to draw 2 or 3 of them and they'll clunk up your hand and it just makes you sad. But like this deck is already pretty tight on stuff. So you could probably just like, here's all the payloads. I'm going to shuffle them up and pick 4, whatever. So
yeah, I think this works really well.
Yeah.
The planeswalker you've chosen and the signature spell and with the theme of the deck that was already present.
Yeah. I think that one's going to be a lot of fun. That's the one I'm going to look to be playing first. And then I'm going to steal like 5 cards out of it for King Makar, which is my favorite Commander deck. So the last deck is Tyrannid Swarm. This is a teamer color. It's red, blue, green for those of us who don't remember Khans of Tarkir and the doomed timeline that led to these names. Sarkhan Unbroken is the only teamer planeswalker.
I was shocked when you told me that, but then I was like, yeah, I can't think of another one because there isn't one.
They just don't print very many. There's a couple of different wedges that are missing planeswalkers just in general.
Wow.
And so they just every once in a while will print like an interesting multicolored planeswalker. I actually kind of wish Yahada was a different color combination because they just like burnt a 3-color planeswalker slot on the most common 3-color planeswalker. But it's what fits her thematically.
Yeah.
So Sarkhan Unbroken's our teamer planeswalker. Red, blue, green 2 for a 4 loyalty Sarkhan planeswalker. +1 to draw a card, then add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. -2, put a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying onto the battlefield. And -8, search your library for any number of dragon creature cards and put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. We don't own dragons. We do not care.
Okay.
We're playing Sarkhan for the colors, really. And my other suggestion is if you're frustrated by this and you don't want to play Sarkhan, you don't want the word dragon a ton, that's fine. Cut all the red cards.
Yeah.
Like, cut all the red cards, play like Kiora, Behemoth Beckoner, play, any of the Kioras are a fine choice. If you have an Oko would be great in here, but Oko's great everywhere. So you can get all the Kioras for like $2. So this is a very budget option for any random Kiora that you want to play. My signature spell from this is Inspiring Call. There's not a lot of spells in this library, first of all. There's Tyrannid Invasion, which makes like a 3/3 is equal to the number of your opponents. It's cute, but I'm not as excited by it.
Cute.
Inspiring Call is a reprint. It is green and 2 instant. Draw a card for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Those creatures gain indestructible until end of turn. So this is my theme of like my signature spells to like interact with something or like warn off my opponents. They know that they shouldn't be destroying my stuff because I have 3 mana and a signature spell up. For cuts, this deck has like 2 really big themes that are going on. Again, I'd go down to 23 lands and I'd cut like ones that enter the battlefield tapped or kind of like land fetch ones. I'd play a few more basics in this. I'd play like maybe 6 of each basic because there's a lot of like Cultivates in here, Harrows in here, Farseeks in here. You're gonna want to be searching out your lands a lot, so you need more basics to be able to find. My theme that I'd cut is I'd fire most of the X cost spells. So there's a strong sub theme. There's like 7 spells in here that have X in their cost or something. Some of them can stay. But like Aberrant, it's not very good. You have to spend like 3 mana up front before you even get to the X. It's not very, like your return is not very good. Hormigaunt Horde, it's super cool, but it's counting on like it getting killed a lot. It then returns to your hand for mana, and then you get to draw cards if you cast it for 6. And you're like,
basically,
I could be playing another spell here.
Overarching theme here is cut stuff that's like dirtily and like will take way too long to pay off.
Cut to your main plan.
Yeah.
And my main plan would be putting +1/+1 counters on my creatures and getting rewarded for doing that.
Yeah,
There's a lot of cards that do this really well in this library. And like you're going to be like, this isn't good value. Get rid of it. And then this one that like puts 2 counters on things and draws me a card. Great. I'm in. This deck also has all 3 of the relevant temple or 3 different relevant temples in it. I would probably actually cut those. I like temples a lot usually, but I want to fetch more lands, so I want more basics for slots. So that's my rundown of what I would cut to like general plans. And a lot of the time, if I'm sitting down at the library and trying to cut stuff, I'm sitting there with 2 cards physically in my hand, and it feels better to hold 2 magic cards and decide which baby you're going to kill.
I mean, that's how they make you do it. You know,
all right. Yep.
That's I think how Sophie's Choice ended.
I mean, that's what I've heard about that. I've only read the novelization. So,
okay, well, we know your favorite of these decks is the mono black deck.
Yeah, that's the one I'm most excited for. Like number 2 would be the Tyranids. Like I love green. I love green red. If I'm playing in a real competitive format, I'm playing green red. But like for some reason, I just keep building black Commander decks and black Oathbreaker decks.
Maybe you're learning something about yourself, Rob.
Maybe I am. I'm turning dark. It's my
spooky.
Yeah.
Megan, which of these do you want to play Oathbreaker?
Oh man, you know what? I feel like this the Gaeadrone Dahada just seems sick. She
like
seems
it.
Really cool.
And you get to do some really random stuff too with Chaos Mutation.
Yeah. Like I love shenanigans.
That's shenanigans
and
written all over it.
I love a deck that's about just some random shenanigans.
Well, I'm going to play Force of the Imperium with Dak and Shadow Slayer. Y'all knew that already.
Yes.
Lots of little creatures, pump them up.
Yep.
You dead.
I'm not going to get in your way of playing that library. There's not a universe where I would.
Oh, well, I'm not going to attack you first then, Rob. Good job.
Wow.
Okay. Well, you're not going to attack Gaeadrone either, so I
mean. You're corrupted.
So true. Well, thank you so much, Rob. This is super cool.
Yeah.
I think it's great because why have a deck that can do one thing when you can have 2 decks that do 2 things? You know what I mean?
You want one deck that can do 2 things?
One deck that can do 2 things. That's what I mean. Commander and Oathbreaker all in one deck. 2 for the price of 1. This is awesome. Magikids.org.
Magikids.org.
That's the place to go.
Yeah, if you want to, like I said, run a local Magic club, they're fantastic. And they have just to get in touch with us, get stuff started. It's a super easy process. The kits have like how to teach kids a fundamental way to play Magic with 10 lands, 10 spells, start at 10 life, just like smash creatures into each other, and how this is useful in a school setting. I've done this with my niece a couple of times, and she got actually like visibly better at reading and math just from being forced to figure out what the heck was on a Magic card.
Yeah, of course.
So.
Yeah, by the way, magickids.org, there's no C, it's just Magi Kids.
Yeah, Magic Kids.
And for Oathbreaker information on like the rules about it, what cards are banned, you can head to oathbreakermtg.org.
Yep. And .com works for Oathbreaker as well. So,
okay, great. Yeah. Thank you so much, Rob.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, sick.
Let's
Glad
get
to be here.
hammer in some war, you know?
As you do. As is the practice.
Yep.
Everybody, that's this episode of Good Luck High Five.
Wow.
Thank you so much to our special guests, my fiance, Will Roberts, and my non-fiance, Judge Rob, for coming on.
Brian, did you talk about everyone like that?
Yeah. That's 2 categories of people that I know.
My fiancés and my non-fiancés.
For expanding our worldview about Warhammer.
Yeah. You know what? It was pretty sick.
It was fun.
It was pretty metal.
We learned a lot, and now I just need to go play some sick riffs on my guitar. On my
Chaos Gods.
guitar. Yeah. I love learning about the Warp and the Chaos Gods.
Oh,
and
so
the
good.
Skelly friends.
The Skellies.
I love the Skellies.
On their tomb planets? Mausoleum planets? tombs. Anyways.
Pretty hardcore.
They're pretty hardcore.
Yeah, you can check out anything you need for your Warhammer desires at cardkingdom.com/GLHF. Get all of your fancy card storage needs met over at Ultra Pro using the code GLHF at checkout for 5% off.
Yes.
Thank you to our patrons.
Yes, Peter, Shane, and Eric. I hope you all liked your episode.
Yes, thank you so much. You can become a patron, get the next show dedicated to you at patreon.com/GLHF Magic. We love our new family members.
Yes.
And check us out at the pre-release this Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific, twitch.tv/loadingreadyrun. And
get ready because our next episodes are going to be pretty good.
Yeah, they are.
Pretty good.
Are you ready?